Hi there guys, this is Richard, your host. Hello gamers, welcome back to another marvelous video, where today we crank up the nostalgia dial to 11 with a journey back to the days of the mighty Amiga. Get ready for a roller coaster ride through the top 25 graphically superior Amiga games, a list that's all about pixel prowess and 16-bit bravado. We're not just talking about pretty pictures here. These games were the Van Goghs of their time. We'll venture through the eerie landscapes of Moonstone, A Hard Day's Night, duke it out in the pixel-perfect arenas of Mortal Kombat, and get lost in the hauntingly beautiful world of Another World. So dust off those old floppy disks and let's dive into a world where graphics were more than just visuals. They were a statement. Moonstone, A Hard Day's Night. Moonstone, A Hard Day's Night is a fusion of action and role-playing elements which takes you back to the early 90s. Set in a mystical world, the game revolves around knights on a daring quest to retrieve the elusive Moonstone and return it to Stonehenge. Here's the catch. It's not just about solo play. Up to 4 players can jump in, with the computer controlling the remaining knights, making for a lively mix of human and AI competitors. The gameplay is clever. You move your knight across a world map dotted with dolmens, key battle locations guarded by fierce monsters. Engage in these spots and you're thrust into real-time battles where your sword-wielding skills are put to the test. Think Barbarian, the ultimate warrior meets Sword of Sodan in terms of combat style. Each victory not only brings treasure, but also crucial experience points to enhance your knight's abilities. But here's the twist. The game's graphic fidelity was way ahead of its time on Amiga. Boasting nearly 1,000 frames of animation and over 60 unique backdrops, it was a visual feast. It pushed the boundaries of what was possible in video gaming back then, especially in terms of bloodshed, making it a topic of controversy, but also admiration. Overall, this is a piece of digital art, a slice of gaming history that'll resonate with fans today. Remember, in the world of Moonstone, every knight has his day, and every gamer has their night. The Chaos Engine. Next up, we have the Chaos Engine, which is an adrenaline-pumping run-and-gun video game that whisks you away to a steampunk-infused Victorian England. In this game, you're not just any mercenary. You get to choose from 6 distinct characters, each with their unique strengths, weapons, and price tags. The heavy hitters like Navi and Thug pack a punch with bazookas and shotguns, while the all-rounders like Brigand and Mercenary balance firepower with agility. And if speed is your game, the Gentleman and Preacher, renamed the Scientist in some versions, are your go-to characters, zipping around with their flame pistols and lasers. The gameplay here is a thrilling venture of exploration, puzzle solving, and intense combat. As you navigate through levels, you're on the hunt for power-ups, gold, and keys, all while activating nodes to progress. The end of every other level is like a mini celebration, a chance to splurge your hard-earned riches on weapon upgrades, health boosts, and other enhancements to your character's abilities. But what sets it apart, especially for its time, is its graphically advanced elements. The steampunk aesthetic is not just a theme. It's a visual feast with detailed sprites and environments that immerse you in a world where Victorian elegance clashes with futuristic technology. It was a game that didn't just tell a story, it showed it in all its pixelated glory, making it a standout title in the early 90s gaming scene. This game's not just about surviving the chaos, it's about mastering it. Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat on the Amiga, a classic that punched and kicked its way into the hearts of gamers. Back in the day, console gamers might have had their flashy versions, but the Amiga brought its own flavor to this iconic beat-em-up, and boy, did it deliver. This game is all about unleashing your inner warrior without the real-world consequences. Frustrated? Angry? Well, this legendary game lets you channel that energy into epic battles without stepping a foot outside the lore. You're not just playing a character, you become the character, feeling every virtual punch and kick, albeit mentally. The game's roster is diverse, each character brimming with unique abilities and personalities. And the end game? You face off against the monstrous Goro, followed by the menacing Shang Tsung. Winning isn't just about depleting health bars, it's about mastering those brutal fatalities that the game is so famously known for. Mortal Kombat on the Amiga also stands out for its use of digitized graphics. While this technique didn't quite hit the mark in games like Pit Fighter, in Mortal Kombat, it just works. The static screens and character sprites might not hold up under a microscope, but once the action starts, none of that matters. The backgrounds are stunning, and the blood effects, they're gruesomely satisfying. Sure, the game's music is decent, but the sound effects and digitized speech are where it really shines. You'll find yourself repeating those catchphrases long after you've put the joystick down. Gloom Deluxe. Gloom Deluxe is like the cool, edgier sibling of the original Gloom on the Amiga. You're this soldier with a plasma rifle, thrown into a building crawling with cultists ready to jump you. It's pretty much action from the word go. What makes this one stand out is its options. There's a solid single-player campaign, but the real kicker, a two-player split-screen mode. For an Amiga FPS, that's pretty rad. It's like doubling the fun, especially if you have a mate to team up with or challenge in a deathmatch. And if you've got two Amigas and a serial cable, well hell, you're in for a treat. The game's pace is brisk and keeps you on your toes. It's not just about blasting enemies, it's about strategizing on the fly. And with the option to tweak the graphics for smoother gameplay, it's friendlier for all kinds of Amiga setups. Running on classic Amiga hardware, the game feels surprisingly smooth. It's got this mix of spookiness and excitement that keeps you hooked. With over 20 levels, hidden rooms, and even some mini-games, it's more than just shooting, it's about exploring and discovering. In a nutshell, it's a blast from the past that still holds up today. It's a test of the Amiga's power and a must-play for old-school gaming fans. So if you're deciding between the original and the Deluxe, definitely go Deluxe. It's like the original Gloom, but with an extra punch. Sword of Sodan. In Sword of Sodan, you're thrown into a medieval fantasy world where the evil necromancer Zoras is hell-bent on conquering the Northern Kingdom. After the heroic Lordan falls to Zoras, it's up to his twin children, Brodan and Shardan, to save the day. Trained by a grizzled old warrior and armed with the legendary Sword of Sodan, they embark on an epic quest to defeat Zoras and reclaim their kingdom. The gameplay is classic hack and slash. You choose between Brodan or Shardan, who, despite their different looks, handle identically in battle. You're scrolling left to right, slicing through a horde of nightmarish creatures with your sword. The game's simplicity is its charm. It's all about timing your strikes and advancing through various landscapes like forests, graveyards, and the eerie halls of Castle Kraganmore. This one stands out on the Amiga for its graphical superiority. For its time, it was a visual feast with large detailed sprites and a variety of vivid backdrops. The game pushed the Amiga's capabilities, offering a level of detail and scale rarely seen in games of that era. While the Sega Genesis version brought Sword of Sodan to a wider audience, it couldn't match the Amiga's graphical fidelity, with scaled-down visuals and fewer enemies. The Amiga version remains a statement title to what the platform could achieve, showcasing large characters and environments that were groundbreaking for the time. The game's graphical excellence set a high bar for the era, making it a memorable title for any retro gaming enthusiast. So, grab that sword, step into the boots of Brodan or Shardan, and get ready to slash your way through history. Alien Breed 3D. Now we have Alien Breed 3D, where blasting aliens is a sport and survival is the trophy. What's the story? Picture this. You're on Osiris 3, and some brainiacs thought it'd be cool to mix alien eggs with human DNA. Surprise, surprise! Things went south. These alien-human hybrids, known as the Breed, are now on a rampage. Captain J.T. Reynolds, our hero, stumbles upon some weapons and gear in an old observatory. His mission is to escape the planet and, well, fingers crossed, blow up the source of these nasty critters before he runs out of oxygen. Talk about a bad day at work. Coming to the gameplay now. So, you're in this first-person shooter, right? And it's like you've stepped into a sci-fi movie. The game's all about dodging alien claws and zapping monsters while navigating these multi-level maps. It's way cooler than just running around on a flat surface. Think stairs, platforms, and all that jazz. Now, let's gab about the graphics. Alien Breed 3D is like the cool kid on the block with its 3D setup. The Amiga is strutting its stuff here with snazzy textures and moody lighting. It's not just a game, it's a feast for your eyeballs. It really set the bar high for what Amigas could do in the world of 3D gaming. To sum it up, this one's a retro 3D rollercoaster that turned our Amigas into mini Hollywood studios. Bloodfest. Next up is Bloodfest, where sci-fi meets dungeon crawler in the eeriest way. You're aboard a spaceship that's seen better days, all thanks to a wormhole experiment gone haywire. Now, imagine that you're floating in deep space and things around you are not following the standard operating procedures. It's up to you to piece together what went wrong and, well, try to stay alive. Coming to the gameplay galore. Bloodfest might remind you of Doom with its first-person shooter vibe, but here's the twist. You're controlling everything with a mouse cursor. It's like having the power of a command center at your fingertips. You've got this nifty action bar at the bottom of the screen where you can pick weapons, punch punch the attack button and navigate around with arrow keys. Oh, and don't forget the protagonist's face display. It's like having a mirror in the game, showing you just how freaked out you should be. Plus, there's a text line that's like your own personal narrator, describing all the spooky stuff you find. Now, let's chat visuals. This game might give you deja vu of classic shooters, but it's got its own flair. The interface is slick. Think Space Age with a touch of horror. The way the game uses the Amiga's graphics to create this immersive, spine-tingling atmosphere is nothing short of brilliant. It's like being in your very own sci-fi horror movie. Final word? Well, in the game, it's like being the star of your own interstellar horror show. Navigate wormholes and outsmart what lurks in the shadows, all while wondering if you left the spaceship oven on. Lionheart. Welcome to the world of Lionheart, where you step into the boots of Valdin, aka Lionheart, a rebel swordsman with a knack for getting into trouble. So, here's the deal. The sacred Lionheart relic of the cat people is swiped by the nasty Norka, and Valdin's sweetheart Eileen is turned to stone. Yeah, talk about a bad day. Now, Valdin's on a mission to get the relic back, save his girl, and maybe save the day while he's at it. In the game, you'll strap in for a 2D action platformer that's all about the hustle. You're running, jumping, crouching, and swinging your sword like there's no tomorrow. The cool part? Well, when Valdin runs downhill, he speeds up, making those jumps epic. There are ropes, slides, and a whole lot of sword-swinging action. The game's got 14 levels of monster bashing, trap-dodging fun with some serious boss fights. Oh, keep an eye out for those nifty power-ups. Game changers. This game's a visual treat with its fantasy-themed cat people world. The environments are lush, the animation's smooth, and every level's got its own vibe. It's like a pixel art masterpiece that keeps your eyes glued to the screen. And let's not forget the action bar with its cool icons and that ever-changing protagonist's face. It's like a mood ring for your character. Lionheart is where cat-like reflexes meet sword-swinging action. It's a platformer that'll have you leaping, slashing, and saving the day one pixel at a time. Techn Cup. Imagine the 80s, neon lights and gritty streets. Welcome to Techn Cup. It's set in a seedy, futuristic city where you're the cop, the judge, and sometimes the jury. Armed with your trusty pistol, you're taking down thugs against the clock. It's all about fast cars and faster justice in this game. This mashup of driving and side-scrolling action game is where justice meets the road at full throttle. 1 minute, you're tearing up the streets in a pseudo 3D driving sequence that's all about speed and dodging obstacles. The next, you're on foot, side-scrolling through dingy locales, dispatching bad guys with style. The game flips between these two modes, keeping you on your toes. And oh boy, the action gets intense. Now, was Techn Cup famous or infamous? Well, either way, it's a pretty well-known game on the Amiga, but pushing the envelope with its graphic content. We're talking about the kind of pixelated violence that was a big deal back then. Characters would literally just blow apart. It's not just the action that's gritty. The graphics have this dark, brooding vibe that perfectly fits the game's Ruff and Tumble world. This is a game that dared to be different and push the boundaries of what was acceptable in gaming back in the day. A true retro gem that's all about fast cars, big guns, and taking out the trash, 80s style, while being visually stunning. Doman, Sins of Arden. Doman, Sins of Arden takes you back to the good old days of side-scrolling hack and slash on the Amiga. Think Conan the Barbarian vibes, with a touch of Polish flair. The game's based on an unpublished short story, adding a bit of mystery and lore. You're either Doman, the beefy barbarian, or Barus, the Nordic warrior, or both if you're teaming up with a friend. Your mission? Take down Arden and his army. It's all swords, sorcery, and a dash of personal revenge. Gameplay here is classic arcade-style action. You start with a sword, but as you battle through 5 stages, you'll bump into NPCs who hook you up with different weapons or a bit of healing. There's a quirky twist where you revert to the sword when crossing rivers, thanks to technical limitations of the time. And there's this cool minigame where you gotta wake up your character to fight off an assassin. Talk about intense. The controls are simple but effective. One button for fire, plus directions. You've got a variety of moves like jump slashes, overhead slashes, and a special heavy attack that changes with your weapon. Plus, you can even finish off downed enemies. For a 1995 Amiga game, Doman impresses. It captures that sword and sorcery atmosphere with gritty, detailed graphics that make each slash and battle feel epic. Plus, considering it's World Software's last hurrah for the Amiga, they really went all out to make it visually striking. Barbarian. Barbarian, the ultimate warrior, where it's all about swinging swords and saving princesses. This is old-school fighting with a fantasy twist. You are a barbarian on a mission, either battling it out with your pals in two-player mode or going solo in a quest to take down the evil wizard Drax and rescue Princess Mariana. The game's a visual treat with a classic fighting pit setup. You've got these cool stone-walled arenas and a bunch of beefy barbarians ready to duke it out. Using joysticks or a keyboard, you'll be jumping, rolling, and slashing your way through enemies. It's all about timing. Dodge those low blows, roll to trip your opponent, and maybe even land a sneaky headbutt. Whack! Ooh. And let's not forget the infamous decapitation move. A goblin even comes in to clean up the mess. The game's interface is pretty rad, with life points displayed as circles in the corners and a score banner right at the top. And how can we ignore the controversy-causing marketing? Photos of muscle-bound Michael Van Wyck and bikini-clad Maria Whittaker stirred up quite the fuss, making Barbarian a game you couldn't ignore even if you tried. It's got brawn, brains, and a bit of cheekiness, all wrapped up in a retro package. Another world. Picture this. Lester, a young scientist, is just chilling in his lab, working on a cool experiment. Then whoosh, a lightning bolt zaps him into a totally bonkers alien world. It's like going from a science fair to a sci-fi movie in a flash. Lester's got to dodge all sorts of weird creatures and escape some not-so-friendly alien captors. And guess what? He even makes an alien buddy. Talk about an unexpected friendship. Another world is like a mashup of a platformer and a puzzle with a side of action. You start off as Lester, trying to kick your way out of trouble, but then score! You find a laser gun that does all sorts of cool stuff. It's all about running, jumping, and being a bit of a puzzle master to survive in this wild new world. And your alien pal? Well, they're more than just a sidekick. You've got to work together to stay alive. The game's graphics and visuals are a looker for sure. The game's creator, Eric Chahi, did some wizardry with vector graphics, making everything super smooth and stylish. It's like the animations and characters just flow on the screen. And the whole no text, no talk thing, well, it makes the game feel like you're figuring out a mystery in a land where Google Translate doesn't work. Super Stardust. Next, we have Super Stardust, where you're at the helm of the Panther PX-2, tasked with navigating through a universe filled with dangerous asteroids and hostile forces. This 1994 classic is a sequel to Stardust, taking the asteroid-blasting action to new heights. Your mission is to traverse through 30 levels across 5 different worlds, obliterating everything in your path and facing down boss guardians at the end of each world. Gameplay here spices up the classic asteroids formula with some neat tweaks. You've got a whole arsenal at your disposal, with new weapons and missiles provided by allied forces. The levels are a vibrant mix of blasting rocks of varying toughness and tackling enemy ships. Plus, those tunnel levels linking the worlds, they're a wild ride of dodging and shooting, complete with tunnel guardians that amp up the challenge. And let's not forget the thrust-style bonus levels for that extra dash of excitement. But this game isn't just about shooting rocks. It's a visual spectacle. Using advanced ray tracing techniques, Super Stardust brings its universe to life with stunning detail. The AGA chipset and CD32 version take it up a notch with in-game cutscenes and a soundtrack that's out of this world. The super lively colors and smooth as butter animations make blasting through space a treat for the eyes. Zenen 2 Mega Blast. Zenen 2 Mega Blast takes you on a wild ride through time, from the Cambrian era to futuristic spaceways. Developed by the Bitmap brothers, this 1989 classic is all about taking down the vengeful Zenites and their strategically planted bombs throughout history. It's a sequel that ups the ante with its time travel twist. You'll be strapped into the Mega Blaster, your trusty starship, and get ready for some intense vertically scrolling shoot-'em-up action. You're dodging, weaving, and blasting through hordes of mutated lifeforms across 5 levels, each ending with a bomb-defusing showdown against a big boss. Watch out for those enemy attacks. They chip away at your shield, and if it's gone, so are you. The game's not just about the kick-ass gameplay. No, it's a feast for the senses. The detailed visuals are a standout, bringing each era to life with style. And the soundtrack is powered by Bomb the Bass's Mega Blast hip-hop on Precinct 13, adding an innovative and groovy backdrop to your time-traveling battles. Along the way, you'll snag capsules bursting with tokens to boost your ship's firepower, speed, and shield. You can only imagine the graphical superiority here. Plus, you can duck into Crispin's swap shop to trade your hard-earned real cash for more upgrades. It's not just about shooting, it's about strategizing your way through history. Franco, The Crazy Revenge. In this game, you'll be stepping into the gritty streets of 1990 Szczecin, Poland. Franco, The Crazy Revenge is a tale of martial arts, vengeance, and street justice. Franco here is our main guy who's out for blood after his buddy Alex gets taken away by a gang led by Klocek. After years of training, it's payback time. The game throws you into a world of punks, thugs, and corrupt officials, all leading up to the showdown with Klocek. And there's a twist. You can play as Alex too, despite him supposedly being, well, dead. This is beat-em-up style at its core. Think Final Fight, but with a Polish twist. You're ploughing through 3 lengthy stages across Szczecin, each packed with goons to pummel. The game spices things up with bonus driving sections where you can mow down baddies in a Fiat 126 for extra health and life. Combat's a mix of punches, kicks and throws, and some seriously cool special moves. What sets it apart is its raw portrayal of urban Poland in the early 90s. The graphics capture the essence of the streets, from graffiti to iconic locations. The inclusion of controversial elements like violence, profanity, and even exhibitionists adds a layer of notoriety. It's a pixelated window into a different time and place, and it does so with boldness and authenticity. All in all, it's where nostalgia met knuckle sandwiches, and every punch thrown was a step back in time. Shadow of the Beast. Shadow of the Beast tells a riveting tale of Arbron, a man kidnapped in childhood and transformed into a monstrous warrior servant for the malevolent beast lord Malatar. Haunted by fragmented memories of his human life, a flash of recognition strikes Arbron as he witnesses the execution of a man who turns out to be his father. This revelation ignites a fierce desire for revenge against Malatar, setting Arbron on a treacherous journey through hostile lands and fierce adversaries. His quest culminates in a showdown against one of Malatar's colossal minions, leading to Arbron's liberation from his curse and return to a more human form. At its core, this game is an action-packed side-scroller. Players navigate Arbron through various landscapes, engaging in combat with an array of monsters. Starting with basic punches, Arbron's arsenal expands to include fireballs and a laser gun, each with unique advantages. The gameplay oscillates between exploring expansive scenic terrains and intense beat-em-up style battles against groups of enemies, culminating in boss fights at key points. What set this one apart in 1989 was its groundbreaking graphics. Featuring a myriad of colors and up to 12 levels of parallax scrolling backdrops, it pushed the Amiga's capabilities to the limit. The game's atmospheric score, posed by David Whittaker, further enhanced the experience with its high-quality instrument samples. Shadow of the Beast wasn't just a game. No, it was a visual and auditory masterpiece, setting a high bar for future platformers and leaving an indelible mark on gaming history. Its legacy, from the Amiga original to the 2016 PlayStation 4 remake, remains a testament to its groundbreaking impact. Damage, the sadistic butchering of humanity. So, in this game, we've got Mike, model citizen, the president's son, living the dream with riches and a celebrity marriage. But guess what? He's totally not feeling it. He's down in the dumps, feeling the heavy weight of everyone's expectations. Mike's solution? He faces death, becomes Mike Massacre, and decides it's time to tear down the society that's been dragging him down. Here, you're basically taking Mike Massacre on a wild spree through the city, with the ultimate goal of taking out his dad, the president. Sounds nuts, right? Yeah, the game's a little bit of everything, from running around to puzzle solving and, well, a whole lot of chaos. It's pretty straightforward, but gets intense with the whole kill anyone you see vibe. The game looks decent for an Amiga title. The sprites are small but packed with detail. The animations are pretty slick too. And the music, well, you've got this crazy mix of death metal and Looney Tunes style tracks, making for a bizarre but oddly fitting soundtrack as you go on your rampage. Damage, the sadistic butchering of humanity, is not just a game where you go around causing havoc. It's like a dark, twisted reflection of how tough it can be to live up to what everyone expects of you. Wrapped up in a wild, violent package, it's a game that's definitely not for everyone, but it has its own charm if you're into that kind of thing. It's like a big middle finger to societal norms, served with a side of dark humor. Hydra. Alright, now let's see what this Hydra game is all about. In this game, thieves are on a mission to steal treasures from a museum, and these aren't just any old treasures. They hold secrets to a powerful weapon. Your job is to stop them in their tracks. You're the hero in charge of an experimental speedboat, racing through rivers and oceans to snatch these artifacts back. The gameplay here is all about high-speed action on water. You're navigating through 9 levels, each packed with obstacles like enemy crafts and gun embankments. The twist? Well, you got to keep an eye on your precious cargo, because if you hit something, there goes your loot floating away. You're collecting money and fuel along the way, essential for keeping your boat zipping along and for those all-important upgrades. At the end of each level, it's shopping time. Upgrade your boat to make it faster, stronger, and cooler. For a 1990 game, well, Hydra is a stunner. It brings the thrill with vibrant graphics that pop, especially those water effects. The detail on the speedboat and the environments, well, top-notch. It's like a visual feast that pulls you right into the high-speed, high-stakes world of Hydra. Waxworks, 1992. Waxworks is like a horror movie turned into video game. Long story short, there's this witch named Ixona who got a hand chopped off by your ancestor for stealing a chicken. Yeah, well, talk about overreacting, right. Anyway, she curses the family, making it so that every set of twins has one good and one evil twin. Fast forward to now, and it's up to you to save your twin Alex from this curse. Your Uncle Boris leaves you his creepy waxworks and a crystal ball. Using these, you travel through time, from an ancient Egyptian pyramid to zombie-filled graveyards, tackling evil twins like a necromancer, and even Jack the Ripper. The final showdown? Stopping Ixona from cursing your family in the first place. This game is all about exploring creepy places in first person, solving puzzles and fighting off baddies. You start in different time periods and level up by beating enemies and solving puzzles, but here's the catch. Every time you finish a period, you start from scratch in the next one. You get to target specific body parts of enemies during combat, which is kinda cool and gory. And Uncle Boris, well, he's like your in-game hint and healing guy, but you need to gather stuff for his spells. The game's got that classic Amiga vibe, detailed sprites, tight corridors, and lots of point-and-click action. It's got its fair share of graphic gore, making it a real treat for horror fans. The sound design? Well, it does the job of setting up that eerie, suspenseful atmosphere. Waxworks is a wild ride through time with a horror twist. It's like a history lesson with zombies, pharaohs, and serial killers. The game's mix of puzzle solving, combat, and time-traveling adventure makes it stand out. Sure, yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted, but if you're into horror and a bit of dark humor, well, this game's a gem from the 90s worth checking out. Plus, the story of a family curse and time travel, well, that's just classic horror goodness. Shadow of the Beast 3. Next up, we have Shadow of the Beast 3, which takes you on a nostalgic ride that showcases the best of early 90s gaming creativity. The game's hero, Arbron, is on a final quest to reclaim his humanity. He's done being a beast, and now it's all about facing off against the big bad Molotov. Each of the 4 stages is like a piece of a puzzle, moving Arbron closer to his goal. Unlike the first 2 games, which were all about brute action, this one switches gears. It's more about using your brain than brawn. You'll be solving puzzles, figuring out tricky situations, and still getting a bit of action. It's like they took the series and added a dash of strategy to it. Now, for the graphics, they're a big deal in this game. Remember, it's 1992 and the Amiga is showing off what it can do. The game's visuals are top-notch for its time, with detailed environments and characters that really pop on the screen. It's like a visual treat that shows how far games had come by the early 90s. Ruff and Tumble, 1994. In Ruff and Tumble, you play as Ruff Rogers, a kid who dives into an alien world through a rabbit hole while chasing a lost marble. Talk about a bad day at the park, right? This world, ruled by the kooky Dr. Destiny and his robot army, has Ruff scrambling to collect his scattered marbles and kick some tin can. But this game is all about running, gunning, and jumping around, with Ruff blasting enemies with his cool multi-projectile gun. Power-ups turn your gun into everything from a flamethrower to a missile launcher. You're hopping through 4 different worlds, each with its own set of baddies and traps, and collecting colored marbles to unlock levels. It's like a wild scavenger hunt with lasers. Coming to the graphics, Ruff and Tumble is a visual treat for the Amiga. The game's got this arcade-style vibe with really detailed sprites and vibrant worlds. Each level is a fresh look with new enemies and challenges, keeping your eyes as busy as your fingers. With its mix of sharpshooting and marble hunting, it sure is a blast of fun with some seriously snazzy Amiga graphics. Worms, 1995. Next up, we have Worms, which might not have a traditional storyline, but it's got a simple and engaging premise. In the game, you're the leader of a team of worms, each armed to the teeth with an arsenal of wacky weapons. The goal? Well, battle other teams of worms, controlled either by the computer or another player, in a series of increasingly challenging and chaotic landscapes. The last worm or team standing wins. It's a whimsical, no-holds-barred fight for survival, where strategy, precision, and a bit of luck determine the victor in this worm-eaten worm world. Worms is all about strategy and hilarity. You control a team of these quirky worms, taking turns to outsmart and blast your opponent's team with a wild arsenal of over 50 weapons and tools. Think of it like a cartoonish, worm-filled game of chess but with more explosions. You've got all these cool gadgets like the bungee and ninja rope to navigate the terrain, and you're racing against the clock each turn. The game's full of surprises too, with reinforcement crates dropping in and sudden death rounds to spice things up. It's of no doubt that this game is a visual feast for the Amiga era. The landscapes are destructible, so every explosion from your weapons changes the battlefield, creating all these craters and new obstacles. It's like watching a cartoon war unfold in your living room, with each battle reshaping the terrain. The game offers strategy, chaos, and comedy, all rolled into a uniquely explosive experience that's as fun to watch as it is to play. The Secret of Monkey Island, 1990. Imagine being Guybrush Threepwood, a young dude with big dreams of becoming a pirate. You land on Melee Island, ready for some swashbuckling action. The local pirate honchos throw you 3 challenges. Outduel the island's swordmaster, dig up buried treasure, and swipe a precious idol. Sounds easy? Well, not so fast. You've got ghost pirates, led by the fearsome LeChuck, and a love story with the governor, Elaine Marley, thrown into the mix. This game is all about exploring, chatting up characters, and solving puzzles that'll test your brain and tickle your funny bone. You click around, picking up stuff and talking to people, trying to piece together how to pass your pirate tests. And the dialogues, well, they're hilarious. You'll find yourself choosing from a bunch of goofy dialogue options that make every conversation a hoot. The Secret of Monkey Island is like stepping into a quirky pirate cartoon. The 2D graphics are colorful and full of character, making every scene a visual treat. Plus, the game's influenced by the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, so you can bet it's got that perfect piratey atmosphere. Ha-ha! Wings, 1990. Wings takes you back to the daring skies of World War I as a fighter pilot. Starting with a training mission, the game ramps up quickly, throwing it into a variety of missions like escorting bombers, intense dogfights, and ground attacks. It's a game of both strategy and quick reflexes, keeping you on the edge of your seat. The controls are straightforward. Arrow keys for flying and spacebar for shooting, but mastering them is where the real challenge lies. Plus, each plane in the game has its own pros and cons, adding a nice layer of strategy to your aerial escapades. Even though it's from 1990, this game nails the immersive experience. You're in the cockpit with a first-person view, seeing all your instruments and the world zooming by. The sound effects are spot on, from the engine's roar to the gunfire, making you feel like you're really up there in the clouds. As you progress, you earn medals based on real World War I honors, which is a super cool touch. It adds a layer of authenticity and achievement to your gaming experience. All in all, this is a thrilling blast from the past that lets you soar through history with the heart of a World War I ace. Marvelous verdict. And that's a wrap on our epic journey through the Amiga's graphically groundbreaking universe. From the bullet-hell beauty of Zenen 2 Mega Blast to the spine-tingling atmosphere of Waxworks, each game we've explored today wasn't just pushing pixels, they were painting digital masterpieces. It's like we stepped into a time machine and witnessed the birth of gaming's renaissance. Did this list teleport you back to your childhood bedroom, joystick in hand, eyes wide, in awe? Or maybe there's a gem we missed that deserves its moment in this 16-bit spotlight? Sound off in the comments, and let's keep the conversation pixel perfect. Remember to hit that like button, smash subscribe, and ring that notification bell for more blasts from the past here at Marvelous Gamers. Stay retro, game on, and see you in the next pixel-packed adventure.